Hello and welcome to IM Movies. The movie starts with a man named Robert McCall. He is a mysterious man with decent habits and likes to do everything on time. He lives a normal life and works at Home Mart Hardware, where everyone loves and respects him. McCall meets his friend Ralphie at the lunch table, who claims to have a tuna sandwich. But after McCall listens to some crunchy noises, he finds potato chips inside it. Ralphie, struggling to get a job as a security guard, is worried when McCall mentions that he won't help him lose weight if he doesn't follow him. That night, McCall went to a diner and brings one of his favorite books. He loves reading books but needs to improve at sleeping at night. McCall is reading The Old Man and the Fish when a prostitute asks him whether the old man caught the fish, but he replies that he will eventually. The young prostitute then leaves, asking him to inform him of what happens with the fish and the old man.
Let me know what happens with that fish.
The next day, McCall is sitting at his job when two workers approach him, wondering what his previous job would have been. McCall laughs and shows them his dancing move and jokingly says he was one of the members of the group Gladys Knight and the Pips band. At night, McCall is at the same diner when the prostitute arrives and seems worried. Yet she questions McCall about the book, and he mentions what he has learned from it and advises her that everyone has the right to be what they want. The prostitute receives a call from her pimp, Slavy, who informs her about the client, but she denies attending to him, stating that he does not treat her right. Still, Slavy forces her to attend to him, while McCall looks at her and observes how she acts happy despite being in pain. The next day, McCall trains Ralphie and motivates him to pull the tire. He needs to lose all those fats to get that security spot. Later that night, McCall visits the diner and gives a piece of cake to the prostitute, as she likes sweets, and reveals that he got it for his coworker's birthday and did not want to waste it. The prostitute, whose face is swollen, now accepts the cake and tries to join McCall at the table, but she hesitates initially. McCall allows her to accompany him, and as she sits, she introduces herself as Alina.
My real name's Alina.
Whose work name is Terry. She gives him a DVD of her songs, indicating that she loves singing. McCall motivates her to be anything she wants, but she states it's impossible in her world, so he asks her to change it. Alina then questions him about his wife, but he gets sad mentioning his deceased wife, and claims that he is reading 100 books for her, as she died on the 97th, and hopes that the books may be a source of discussion for them when they reunite again. Alina feels comfortable in his company, so they spend a few hours together, after which Slavy finds her and stops his car in front of her. Slavy beats Alina for hitting the client while she stops McCall from doing anything. McCall spots the gun in Slavy's man, and after he puts her in the car, Slavy gives a card to McCall and tells him that he can arrange the best woman for him. A few days later, McCall learns from the diner owner that Alina is in the hospital after someone beat her badly.
See you at Charlotte. Someone beat her up real good.
McCall visits the hospital and finds her miserable with her friend Mandy. McCall waits for Mandy, who seems very confused and scared. After she spills hot coffee on her hand, McCall approaches her and assures her that he is just a friend. Mandy then spills the beans about Slavy and how he made an example of Alina. She quotes an incident when Slavy spilled the battery acid on one of his workers' faces and kept her with them as a lesson for others. She mentions that Alina was raised very young and started dreaming about giving up on her life as a prostitute. But now Slavy has threatened to cut her throat. After hearing this, McCall returns home, spends a few days thinking about what to do, and reminisces about his last conversation with Alina. At night, Slavy reaches his restaurant, manages all his black businesses, and meets his friends. Moments later, McCall arrives, and Slavy and his friends are shocked to see him there. They make fun of McCall's old age, but he ignores them and asks Slavy about Alina. When he denies knowing her, McCall offers him money in return for Alina's freedom, but he refuses to take it, claiming that he can make the same amount from her within a week. They disrespect Alina, which infuriates McCall, and he turns the glass skulls over to Slavy and his men to indicate their demise. McCall returns to the door, but instead of walking away, he stops and turns to Slavy. He carefully observes everything and notices all the weapons and things to kill Slavy and his friends within 16 seconds.
16 seconds.
McCall walks ahead, fights Slavy's friends brutally, and shoots him in the neck. He kills Slavy's friends using knives and sharp nails, after which he sits beside Slavy, who is counting his last breaths now. McCall tells him that he will die here while Alina will live, and he proclaims that he must have taken the money. The following day, McCall is at work when Ralphie arrives and informs him that he has lessened his weight and will pass the test easily. Later, McCall returns home and listens to the news about the deaths of 5 Russian gang members. In the meantime, another Russian mobster named Teddy Renson arrives in the city and orders his men to lead him to the murder site. Teddy checks all the evidence and visualizes how Slavy and his friends would have died. He teams up with some corrupt officers and orders them to check all the cameras within a 6-mile radius. Then he asks them to drop them off at home when Frank tells him that he is not his chauffeur, but Teddy makes him recall his place, mentioning that he is here to clear their mess, while they waste Pushkin, their boss's money. The next day, McCall is at work when he learns Ralphie has left without notice.
No notice either.
He then leaves and finds Ralphie helping his mother at their hotel. McCall looks at the burned site and feels something is wrong. McCall meets Ralphie's mother and helps them. In the meantime, Frank leads Teddy to Irish mobster John Looney. When asked about Slavi's murder, John is agitated and disrespects Teddy by calling the Russians arrogant and wild. Teddy shows him how they pay them despite knowing that they are rats to the feds and beats him badly while Frank shoots and injures John's men. After they leave, Teddy wants to send a message, "I'm here."
It says, "I'm here."
Meanwhile, when McCall questions Ralphie about the incident, he provides no information. He admits that he has to do everything to help his mother whenever something like this happens. Later that night, Teddy meets Mandy and asks her about Terry, but she denies knowing her. In the evening, he talks to Pushkin and informs him that all of their associates deny involvement in Slavi's murder. He adds that he is going through everything and will soon lay his hands on the killer, but Pushkin orders him to be loud in whatever he does. Afterward, two corrupt police officers close Ralphie's mother's restaurant and extort some money. As they leave, warning her to pay on time, McCall confronts them and asks them to report a crime. They ignore him, but are stunned when he calls their number. They come out to face him, but he shows them the video recording when they are extorting a shop. They try to arrest him after learning that he has only one copy of the video, but McCall beats them and leaves them, asking them to return the money. Otherwise, the uncut version of the video will be on every news channel in the city. The next day, Ralphie's mother gets her money back, and McCall is happy to see Ralphie back at work. Subsequently, Teddy is seen at Mandy's place when he claims that he has learned that she was close to Terry, but that she lied to him. Mandy is scared and admits that she spoke to Terry 1 week ago and was at the hospital when a good black man came to see her. Teddy offers her water and kills her. The following day, McCall is playing baseball when Ralphie is seen in a security guard's uniform and thanks him. Teddy checks all the cameras and finally finds McCall in one of the pictures he shows his men. Meanwhile, McCall comes to his colleague Jenny for a refund when he finds a robber there. He hands over the money to him and also takes Jenny's ring. McCall looks at him and follows him and memorizes his plate number. After the police statement, McCall tells Ralphie that the robber has already committed 4 thefts and that his main purpose is only money.
It's only money.
McCall is then seen picking up a hammer. Following that, Jenny returns to the counter that night and finds her ring inside, while McCall is seen putting the hammer back, showing that he has beaten the robber. McCall is at home when he feels someone at his doorstep. As he opens the door, he encounters Teddy there. Teddy tells him that he is the police and questions him about the time when Slavi was murdered, and McCall admits that he was there to see his friend, who was sick at the time and could not come to join him. Teddy shows him Mandy's picture to identify her and is leaving. McCall asks him for a card because that's what they usually do, but Teddy leaves and tells Frank that everything about this man is wrong.
Everything about him is wrong.
McCall understands that trouble has begun, so he starts preparing for it and fixes cameras and fake evidence at his place. Meanwhile, Teddy orders his guys to go deeper into this man, and after they read out the details about McCall, Teddy claims that everything is a lie. He guides his men to catch him alive, as he wants to know who a man with such skills works for. In the evening, McCall is at the diner when Teddy's man disguised as an electrician arrives. McCall identifies him and suggests he do what he wants, instead of waiting. The man approaches him with a gun, but McCall knocks him down in moments and gets shot. He leaves the diner and captures Teddy's picture, who is waiting for his man outside. They start following him, and Teddy learns that he is injured. Still, McCall knocks off one of the men and learns he is a police officer. McCall is seen covering his wound while Teddy and his men arrive at his house. They look around but find nothing except fake evidence of his presence there. Teddy's men suggest that he may have run away, but he comprehends that McCall is still around and has his eyes on them. It is true, as McCall is seen watching and listening to them through the cameras and the devices he has installed. McCall arrives at his friend Susan's house and spends time with her and her husband. After that, Susan tells him that she is retired now and if he needs help, she won't be able to do it, but McCall shows her Teddy's picture. In the morning, Susan's husband talks to McCall and informs him that he had a good funeral.
You had a nice funeral.
And Susan does not believe in his death, because she thinks he is the only one to get out of the system. Soon, Susan arrives there and shows all the information about Pushkin. She claims that he owns both coasts of New York, and his political connections and power make him untouchable. Meanwhile, Teddy is the one he sends to deal with his problem. She adds that Teddy is a sociopath with a business card and is smart.
Basically, he's a sociopath with a business card.
She shows him the pictures of officers Pedersen and Remerson, who have died while Frank has not shown up for work. McCall gets all the information, and when Susan was asked by his husband if she was able to help McCall, Susan replies, "He didn't ask for help, he came for permission." The next day, Frank is seen at his home when he listens to noise in his garage and comes to check. As he notices a pipe inside his car, Mr. McCall appears behind him and cuffs him inside. He locks the doors and tortures him by filling the car with gas until he agrees with what McCall wants. Frank leads McCall to where Pushkin's money is stored, and they order the manager, Andre, to evacuate the place. McCall introduces himself as the new man appointed by Pushkin, but Andre does not believe him and points his gun at him. In seconds, McCall snatches his gun and makes his men lower their weapons. Following that, Frank is cuffed outside the building when McCall asks him to call the police and forces him to do something right before he dies. McCall forces him to reveal his escape plan, and as he gets information, he visits the location, gets all the documents, and finds a drive. Meanwhile, Frank gets arrested by Officer Mosley, who leads another officer and shows him Andre and his men with billions of dollars in cash. Teddy is having dinner at the restaurant with his new guy, who is confident that he will find McCall, but as he leaves for the washroom, McCall appears, claiming that he has killed the man. The duo has a badass conversation, and Teddy questions McCall about what he sees when he looks at him. McCall then describes a good man who adopted a kid despite having 5. But the adopted man kills him and his wife after all the love and compassion the good man shows him. From Teddy's expression, it is revealed that it was his life story. Then McCall leaves, asking how he feels after looking at him.
What do you see when you look at me?
McCall goes through all the documents found as Frank's escape plan, and after checking the drive, he emails all the files to Officer Mosley. McCall then notices a tanker delivering oil worth $470 million for Pushkin, so he visits the place and destroys the tanker, thus shaking the roots of Pushkin's kingdom in New York. Pushkin contacts Teddy and orders him to cease everything in New York, as he has lost his power there. Teddy takes more time from him, and Pushkin tells him to do his job, otherwise he will die. Teddy disconnects the call and looks at McCall's picture with Ralphie. After a while, he reaches McCall and talks about the next call he will receive. McCall listens to the phone and finds Ralphie scared on the line with their workmate inside the hardware. Teddy reconnects with him and orders him to meet at the location where he blew the tanker. Teddy's men are waiting for McCall when he dials his number and asks whether he is willing to die for his friends, but he asks the same question in reply. Teddy determined his location and ordered his men to shoot him immediately after getting any visuals.
When you see him, shoot him.
But McCall tricks them and uses another phone so he can go to the hardware. Meanwhile, a song plays inside the hardware, and a man leads Ralphie to turn the music off. As they reach the control center, McCall appears behind and kills him. Ralphie is scared, but McCall tells him everything, and he helps get rid of another man ahead, after which McCall asks him to leave the place with all the hostages. After the hostages leave, McCall turns off the lights, kills Teddy's men one by one, and gets shot while picking up a gun. McCall stops his bleeding and fights a man who gives him a very tough time. By the time McCall gets rid of him, he is tired, so Ralphie appears to help him and gets shot in the leg while trying to save McCall. McCall asks him to go to the breaker while he hides.
Can you make it to the breaker box?
Teddy spots Ralphie and follows him while he makes his way to the breaker and turns on the lights, which causes a blast and kills the man left with Teddy. Before Teddy can shoot Ralphie, McCall shoots him using a nail gun. Teddy fails to hold his gun properly. When Teddy asks, "Who are you?" McCall kills him using the nail gun. After a few days, Pushkin is seen taking a bath when the lights turn off. He finds McCall waiting for him and recognizes him. He questions why he is here, and McCall disappears, stating he is here for peace.
Peace.
Pushkin listens to the water's noise and finds a tap opening. He approaches the tap and tries to reach his guards when the sink overfills, and he makes contact with a naked wire, thus causing his death. McCall then leaves, showing that he killed Pushkin's men. After that, when Alina finds him, McCall returns from the market, and he is happy to see her changed. She tells him that she has started reading books and has gotten a job. McCall looks at her affectionately, and she adds that someone left $10,000 for her at the hospital. She knows that McCall has done everything for her, so she gives him a kiss on the cheek and leaves, asking him to stay in touch. The movie then ends when McCall is seen sitting in the diner and responding to an email asking for help. He then replies, "Yes," which tells us that he is back at it again. And that's the end of this recap. If you like this video, don't forget to share and like to help this channel out. Thanks for watching and